The never-ending problem and challenges of running a business grind you down as an owner. But what if the problems weren't the actual problem? Now tune into today's episode where we discuss how the way you think about your business problems is actually the real problem, and how you can change your thinking to transform your business results. Alrighty, welcome to the Profitable Tradie podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones, your host here with my good mate, co-host Phil Smith.
G'day, mate.
How you going, man?
Yeah, always good. Always good.
Ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll.
What are we rock and rolling about?
We're talking about how business and life can feel like a never-ending stream of problems and frustrations. So basically, it feels like your business lurches from one crisis to another. I think we've all been there. And you work really hard to get ahead, but you just seem to get dragged down again and again. So, lots of examples of this. You can't find good team members, or your team won't perform. You can't find work, or everyone's lowballing in price. And I think, these are the types of problems that are on our plate all the time. And unfortunately, it can feel pretty bad. You can get bogged down with this
You can,
stuff.
and I think the thing with a lot of those issues, like not finding good team members, often this is a cycle that goes on and on and on. And so you have a bad run, and then you try again, and you sort of, fall over again, and you keep doing it, and eventually you're starting to think, well, this is hopeless. There aren't any good people out there, or, geez, I've had this team, and they keep making mistakes. They keep letting me down. Is this what people always like?
You tell yourself those stories, right? Where you're like, hey, look, this is just a thing. This is the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Again, there just aren't good team members out there, or, team members will never be good. They just don't perform. People don't seem to care, or, there just isn't work out there. You start telling yourself these stories, and then you actually confirm the stories you tell yourself when it happens again. But unfortunately, you're the one recycling that problem and that thinking.
That problem, that's right. So today we're going to turn this on its head and sort of look at these problems and ask the question, are these actually the real problems? What if the situation you're in isn't the actual problem? Because if that is the situation and that is the problem and there's no way to change it, that's not a very nice place to be, because you've got no control over things and life and business is just happening to you. If there's legitimately no team members out there that will do the job properly, where does that actually leave you? It leaves you in a pretty dark place. You probably just feel like digging a hole and pulling the lid over. And with any of those problems, it's kind of the same. So we're really going to lay down a challenge to look at these problems in a different way, because I think the way that you look at the problem here is often actually the problem.
Absolutely.
We feel like it's been done to us. So I guess the thing we're going to kick around today is, what if there was another problem that wasn't actually the problem you thought was the problem?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, I think it's not so much of a what if either, so we'll get there by the end.
We know this is the case, so stay tuned.
Absolutely. I'm sure you got a story to kick us off.
I do have a story. It's about a young man, hypothetical young man, and he was, quite a religious guy, and he prayed for courage. He wanted to be a courageous person. So he got on his knees and prayed to God for courage, and some really interesting things happened to him. He lost his job and lost his ability to make money. And he was like, what's this about? And then he got conscripted into the army, and he had to go to war. And this was very traumatic for him. And he actually, met God one day, and he asked, well, I prayed for courage. Why didn't you give me courage? Like, I thought you were, a kind, loving God. So what's this all about? Like, I don't get it. And God said, you lost your job. What did you need to do to get through that? You went to war. What did you need to do and develop to get through that? You needed courage. So I sent you the situations that will build courage in you. I'm not just going to give you courage because it's not courage then. It's something you have to earn. And I think that's like a lot of things in life. The skills and the attitudes and the development that needs to happen is done through the situations you face. It's not something you just have necessarily. It's something you have to develop, just like the courage for this young man who prayed for courage. The same happens in your business as well with the skills you need to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if we have the wrong attitude to the problems in our business and we're essentially praying for courage and not seeing those situations, then, hey, we run into some problems.
We do. And like the young man, you tend to blame other things and everything else other than yourself for the situation you find yourself in. And that results in you failing to take accountability for the results that you're actually achieving, because there's a problem out there that isn't of your making, and therefore it's not your responsibility to fix, and then you don't learn. That's the basic thing. You kind of abdicate the responsibility for learning. Not much I can do about it. That's a problem. And the thing that happens then, you keep repeating the same mistakes because the situation doesn't change because you haven't learned anything, and you're like, well, this is just too hard. And your business stalls, you feel frustrated, you get angry and exhausted, and you give up because you feel like you don't have control of your situation in your life. And that's a really tough place to be. And let's be honest, a lot of people, if you're listening, you may have felt like that. Maybe not all the time, but in various situations in your business, it feels like it's out of your control. It feels like it's a massive issue or problem that you really can't get on top of.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, if we do have a good strategy for, looking at the problem the right way and identifying the real problem, we have some opportunities.
I think if you understand the nature of problems and challenges in your life, then you start looking for the lessons in those situations, and that means you take ownership of your results, you take responsibility for where you're at, which is a really different thing. And when you take responsibility, that necessarily leads to you actually learning about what you need to do to get better, and rather than recycling the same mistakes, you actually improve. You'll make some progress on the issues that you're having, and things will get better. So that allows your business to grow, allows you to grow as a human being as well, and you actually get excited about what you're capable of. You're like, well, actually, I've got some control over things. I can actually make things happen. I can achieve things, and this is a good, it's like an upward cycle. And ultimately, you can take more control of your life. You can't always control everything in life, obviously. Some of us have tried to do that, and it just about kills you. So it's probably not recommended, but there's a hell of a lot more you can control than you think when you have the right attitude to the situations that you face.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got quite a lot to gain here. Where should we start?
Let's be honest, business and life, it is a constant stream of problems and issues and bottlenecks and challenges and frustrations. I used to find this really difficult when I first was in business, and I know a lot of people that we coach are like, well, when will it be easy? When will it be better? Well, it doesn't really, it definitely gets easier and better with the right attitude, but there's still those challenges are there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really important thing. And if you're not having problems, then you're probably not trying much either as well. So that's another side of it. But, I guess the key thing here is when you've got problems, it's almost like your business and life is giving you an examination. It's testing you out. It's seeing what you know and what you don't know, and where your strengths and where your weaknesses are, and what you're good at and what you're not good at. So it's kind of like an exam. If you've done your trades certifications and stuff, you've had to kind of work to do that. You've had to learn stuff. You've had to study so you can actually pass the tests and the exams. And I think business is like that. Something that's really helped me with this is Tony Robbins. He's the big guy, the motivational speaker, brilliant speaker. And he said, what if life is actually happening for you, not to you? Because I think in these situations when shit's going wrong, we feel like, this is happening to me. Why does this keep happening to me? Why can't I find good people? Why do my guys keep letting me down? Why do my customers, why are they difficult? Why can't I get the work I want? Why won't people say yes to my bids or quotes? Why do they want me to drop my price? Why do they want me to itemize every invoice that I send? Why won't they pay the bill? And you feel like it's happening to you, like some force out there is kind of ganging up on you. And I don't know, mate, if you've ever felt like that, I definitely have.
Yeah, definitely.
I still do sometimes.
And I think, it's just like the story you told earlier, right? These situations, these things, these external forces, it's not that they're not problems. They are difficulties, but those difficulties are really just asking you to develop something within yourself, or develop a new skill, or be able to work through something, basically to be a better person. So there's another good saying we always use, which is don't wish it was easier, just wish you were better.
Oh yeah.
And so I think in this case, when these things are going on and you are experiencing these difficulties, thinking back to Tony Robbins, what if this was happening for you? It's creating that situation for you to develop something within yourself to actually overcome these kinds of problems in the future. But I think you hit the nail on the head there with it doesn't get easier. Well, it does get easier and it does get better, but the challenges don't stop. It doesn't get less challenging.
Yeah.
What you do become is more equipped to deal with challenges when they arise. So it does get easier, it does get better, but it doesn't get less challenging. There's always new challenges. And if you do find that you don't have new challenges cropping up, you're probably in a really stagnant place, which is a bad place to be. Ray Kroc used to always say, if you're green, you're growing. So basically, if you feel out of your depth, that's good, because it means that you're developing, either your business or your life. So, you do actually want to be in a state where things are challenging, because that means that you're actually making improvements and giving yourself the opportunity to grow, both professionally and personally.
If you think about examples, hiring good people is a good example here. I think we've all felt like this, particularly at the beginning of our businesses, and this is the key point, is it's difficult to find the right people. We make some bad choices. We get people who are just not even B players, they're kind of C+ players. Or we hire people because we think they look good on paper, but they're just rubbish. And you get concerned that there's no good people out there. But really, the problem is not that there's no good people out there. The problem is that you think that there's no good people out there, and then you stop trying to learn how to get the good people. That's the key thing. And so I think the real key of what we're digging into today here is that the problem is not what's happening to you. Often it's because you don't recognize that this problem is actually an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's actually an opportunity given to you to help you get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like the one door slams, another one opens. It's all that kind of thing. And it's very true in business. If things are not working as you want them to, unfortunately and fortunately, it's because you're not good enough yet.
Yeah.
That's basically the reality. Now, occasionally things will go south, but in the long run, if you're not getting the results you want and you're facing the same issues again, it's because you haven't learnt the lesson. Or, put it another way, God will keep sending you the lesson until you learn it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm a slow learner in some areas, I've got to say. But
then
in other areas, I'm a good learner.
You're going to keep getting sent
I
that
do,
same
unfortunately.
opportunity.
Yeah. So that's the thing. God will keep sending you the lesson until you learn it, and that's great because it means you can learn it, because you can get better rather than feeling like this is hopeless and you have no control over it. So if you find yourself faced with the recurring problems, there's some learning for you to do, which is going to put you on the front foot in the position where you can actually start making growth and progress in your business, which is super exciting.
Yeah, massively exciting. And I think that leads us to the next point, really, which is that this takes a lot of self-awareness.
Oh, yeah. This is the tough bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you just need to realize that if the same thing does keep happening to you, the same problem followed by the same problem followed by the same problem, it's because you're stuck in a loop. And so you're not actually learning and growing through that problem so that you can avoid it next time. And that's why it keeps presenting itself. And unfortunately, when you're really, really stressed and things are going badly and you feel bad about it, it's hard to recognize that loop. And instead, we start pointing the finger externally and saying, hey, look, it is just difficult and this can't be done. And, this is not possible for me. Because, basically you keep experiencing the same thing, so it must be a real thing. But actually it's because you're not seeing the opportunity to grow through that and learn to be better when that arises. And so you just keep running into the same brick wall.
I think just on that point too, when you're stressed, it's very difficult to think long term, and you just think about, what's happening right now as well. And so that can very easily, you can actually stop seeing the pattern.
Oh, totally.
You don't actually take some time to look back and realise that actually I made the same mistake when I hired someone last time and the time before that. And each time I did an interview and I sat down and had a chat with them, but I didn't really ask them any hard questions. Or each time I didn't do a reference check. Or each time I didn't get them to do something out in the field to see how they rolled, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget that. So you need to step back. And if the problem is there, have I experienced this before? How's it looked over the last couple of years? Have I been here before? If I have, you're probably in a loop.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is where you start to ask yourself some questions, really. So you ask yourself, well, hey, what is a challenge I'm facing in my business right now? But then you've got to ask, well, hey, how long has this been going on? What's the impact this is having on me and on my business? What have I tried previously? What new learnings has been brought about by this situation? And when you start really digging into the problem that you're experiencing, you start realizing, well, hey, this has been going on for ages, or it's happened multiple times, and this is having a really, really bad impact. And, what have I tried? Well, maybe that stuff worked, or maybe I need to try something else. Or maybe you realize, actually, I haven't tried much at all. I've just been kind of lumping it. And, what new learnings have been brought about by the situation, until you ask yourself that question, it can actually be very difficult to see the learnings at all. You do need to proactively, probe for those learnings and have a look.
Well, I think, just sorry to butt in, mate.
Yeah, right. Interrupt my interruption.
Yeah, interrupt your interruption. Those learnings are important too, and it's not only what new learnings have you got, but often in these situations, it's like, be brutally honest with yourself and ask yourself the question, what new learnings have I brought to this situation?
Yeah.
What have I actually done to get some outside information to actually address this problem? And I can think of not having consistent workflow. This is a classic example. So when that happens, maybe you get on the phone, or you get in your ute or your truck or whatever, and you pound the pavement and hustle up some work. And so that's a pattern that recycles. So every time you get short of work, you do that, which is great. It's a short-term fix. But you've never really stepped back and understood why you have these gaps in your work.
Yeah, why do you continue to be in a situation where you're short of work?
That's right. And so in this situation, this is a classic thing that happens with a lot of the people we coach, is like they realize they've got a capacity problem with pricing. They've got a team of 6 or 8, 10 guys, maybe even a bit less, whatever, but they physically do not have the ability to price enough work to keep their team busy and grow.
Yep.
Them as an owner, honestly, they're spending 5 to 10 hours a week, maybe pricing where they really need to be doing 30 to 40 hours. And so their actual learning is, I don't have the capacity. I actually am not pricing enough jobs here.
Yeah.
And then the next learning is, well, actually, I probably need to fill that role somehow. So maybe I need a pricing person or an estimator. And now they've brought a new learning to the situation, which is going to get a new result. It's a capacity problem. Yeah. And this is often part of the learning, actually. It's a capacity problem. We've talked about this before.
Is really going
in various areas.
Often sitting behind a lot of problems. I mean, because again, you might have those gaps in your workflow because, you're not doing any proactive marketing. So every time there's a gap, you do the reactive thing as you discussed. But you're never doing the proactive marketing, and that's why the gaps keep popping up. And then what you realize is, well, I would do extra marketing, but firstly, I don't know what to do. And secondly, I don't have time to do that. So, on the one hand, there's learning you need to do, and on the other hand, there's capacity that you need to create either for yourself or with other people. But one way or another, something has to change. And I think this really is the guts of all of those questions you ask yourself is, what's going to actually change if I don't change? Einstein said, definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. And unfortunately, what we often do is we run into these problems, and we think, oh well, this problem is real, it exists. There's no good people out there, or there's just not that much work. And so what we try is to be sooky about it and complain about it, and hope that through all my sookiness and complaint and whinging, that the universe hears me and changes it for me. Which, by the way, is not a good strategy. There's probably different stuff you could do, and I think a different person that you can become, different time that you need to free up, different capacity you need to bring on, different learning that you need to take in, which again up levels you as a person. But all of this is stuff that you can change, that will have a real impact on the problem that you're experiencing, not just now, but in the future as well. So you're fixing this problem now, but you're also proactively working against getting that problem to happen again. And so often the hard part is, as you say, when you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're experiencing these problems, things don't feel that good. What does feel good is to wallow in it and whinge about it.
Yep. Have your own little pity party.
It feels very soothing, to have a pity party. And there's nothing better than having a big whinge session to somebody, complaining, and that person goes, man, that feels so hard. It must be so hard for you. You go, it is, thanks. It's kind of like when you're sick, as a kid, and your mum puts a blanket on and gets you a warm milk. But it's like, look, the thing is that doesn't actually help. It makes you feel a little bit better in the time, but it's kind of like pissing in your pocket to stay warm. It works for about 5 minutes, and then the piss goes cold, and now I'm cold and covered in piss.
You love that.
But the thing is like, you need to do something different, and nothing will change if you don't change.
Yeah. Like another example is, if your team's not performing, you can get angry and frustrated if they're making issues happening with them, or they're not performing. Then you can get angry with them and tell them off, beg, threaten, whatever. And you might do that repeatedly, and you're like, well, they're just useless. But again, if you step back and did some learning around team and all that sort of stuff, you realize that actually that reactive type stuff is not really what builds a great team. Now, obviously hiring the right people to starters, but then it's the proactive stuff you do, like how am I building my cultural values, and how am I communicating with my team, and what feedback am I giving them, and what coaching am I giving them, and what systems do I have in place. And so you'll start to learn some of that stuff and be like, oh, flipping heck, that's some new stuff I can do to change this result. And that's the key to success. Well,
another example of this, which actually just came up yesterday on a coaching call, was had this client. I'm looking at his business structure. I say, hey, look, you got a lot of first year apprentices here. You're getting quite bottom heavy. And I'm like, what are your next 5 hires? And it lists them off. And sure enough, 3 of them are more first year apprentices. And I'm like, dude, have you thought about getting somebody who's maybe a bit more qualified, proper tech? And he says, no, I only hire first year apprentices because then I can train them my way, grow them through, and I make sure I get good staff. And I'm like, hey, can you explain that a bit more to me? I know what he's going to say. I just want him to say it. And he says, well, look, every time I hire qualified guys, they come in, they're useless, they have to be retrained. It's a big problem. They all got bad habits, blah, 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 and I prefer to train them from the start. I said to him, I was like, hey, another way you could look at this is, instead of saying all of the experienced guys are crap and need to be redone, another way you could look at this is, are you really that good at hiring and picking the right guys? Another way you could look at it is, are you really that good at training and onboarding and getting people into your culture and your way? Another way you could look at it, are you really that good at holding people accountable to the systems you've put in place? Because, just pointing the finger externally and saying all these people are crap and it can't be done that way, and therefore I'm going to have to sentence myself to being bottom heavy, which is going to really throttle my growth because, I have to wait for all these people to train through. Take some responsibility of that and realize that actually this is your business and life. Or, if you're religious, you could say it's God. If you're not religious, cool, call it the universe, whatever. But it's life telling you need to be better at something. and actually this person's getting a pretty big wake-up call that maybe you're not that good at hiring, maybe you're not that good at onboarding, and maybe you're not that good at actually, getting your team to do stuff the right way. And actually that's what you need to work on, because if you can nail that, you can hire anybody and you can grow more efficiently. So it's all the way you look at it, but I think this is an uncomfortable thing to do.
And that's the whole thing here, is you have to embrace the discomfort, because growth happens in the discomfort. So, and you can choose your discomfort, right? So you can choose your discomfort of being annoyed with the problem that keeps popping up, but that's a pretty shitty discomfort because it never goes away and it feels like you've got no power. Or you can choose the discomfort of being proactive and walking out into the area that you don't really understand yet, and welcome that discomfort. Because nobody is actually born a master. This is the thing. Like, nobody's an expert at hiring people when they just start in business. Well, there might be some people who are just highly intuitive, but I don't think so. I haven't really seen it.
Even those people, I'm like, cool, so you're probably highly intuitive with some things, but everybody's got blind spots. Nobody's good at everything.
That's right. And so nobody's born a master. Nobody, when you learn to walk, you don't walk straight away. You fall on your bum heaps of times, and that's to be expected. And so it's the same in this situation. So you've got to push on, embrace the discomfort, because you will suck at the start. That's what it's like, and you will make mistakes, and that's how you learn. And so that's all about being comfortable with the discomfort. That's where the money is. That's where the growth is. If you're not in that situation of putting yourself in situations to learn, you're not going to grow. You're not going to make more money, and you will stall. You'll get frustrated, and you'll feel like life's happening to you, when in actual fact the situations you're facing are happening for you. I think the old Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius and all those kind of guys, he's dead just now, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great.
Roman emperor. But they're
he actually did just quite a long time ago.
A little while.
Yeah, wee while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, he had some good things to say, and he basically said obstacles are not just impediments to progress, but they're the very means by which we achieve success and progress. This is the key thing. So that problem, that it's not an impediment, it's not the problem, it's actually the gift. It's actually the window to growth, and that's what you've got to embrace, because that's what will lead to success and progress. Not only success and progress, but it's just going to help you become a better person.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the cool thing about it.
Well, you're skill stacking, right? You're adding more strings to your bow, more arrows to your quiver. So, I mean, this is all a good thing, and it's all stuff you can use later. So, I mean, there's really no reason not to try to take the learnings out of anything. Even actually when you win and something goes really well, I'd still encourage people to be like, well, cool, what can I learn from that? What can I repeat? And, even what would I tweak? What would have made it even better again? Because often we can see those wins and we can celebrate them, and we feel good, but we forget to take the learning as well, and then repeat the good thing we did. I remember a guy in our coaching group, I can't remember who it was, but he said, we were talking about some idea, and he came out with this really good suggestion, and we said, oh, do you do that? And he goes, no, it works so well that I stopped doing it. Which I think is so classic. Right?
I know who that was.
Yeah, well, I can't remember. But anyway, I think the point is like often we do something and it works, and rather than reflecting on it and going, well, why did it work and what can I learn from that? We go, oh, well, that was great, and we move on to the next fire that's burning, and we forget to actually repeat the behavior that got the win. So I think we want to look for those learnings in everything we're doing, because that's what stops all these problems from rearing their head, or when they do, it's what makes them easy to overcome next time. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're right there, buddy. You're having some issues.
Unfortunately, I feel like I swallowed a bug just now. But anyway, we're good.
You look like it as well, mate.
Yeah.
You're sweating.
The bug tasted good anyway.
That's nice.
Which really brings me to the next point, which is actually about celebrating those wins, though, because along the way, the really hard thing is some things are going to be problems, and sometimes we do get a learning, we do overcome, and it's important that we can really celebrate that. Like experience the enjoyment and the fulfillment and just that sense of achievement when you actually do get something right, when you do implement a learning and it works, or when you do have a problem and you do learn something. I'm like, cool, so celebrate having the learning, because either way, you win or you learn is a classic thing that gets said. But both of those things are good outcomes, because when I get the learning, it means that I'm going to win next time. And so I think what we want to focus on here is our internal locus of control. So what we're talking about here is there are things that are external forces that you can't control. You can't control the weather, can't control a lot of things within the economy. I can't control what the government does. I can't control whether my neighbour comes and steals all the tools out of my van. But what
you need some new neighbours, bro.
Yeah, well, But the thing is I can control the way that I look at things. I can control my actions and what I do with the situations that arise.
And when you win, And when you celebrate your wins, that has the happy side effect of stimulating that internal locus of control, because you like, actually, I did that. It means I am capable. I can make a difference, and I've got this, and it builds the confidence for the next things, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and I think with this, like when we're setting ourselves goals and when we're looking at things we want to overcome, problems that we don't want to have again, there's a quote from Jim Rohn that's really, really good to keep in mind here, which is that the purpose of a goal is not so much to achieve it, but it's the person you have to become in order to achieve it. And so I think that's really the essence of this, is that there's going to be times when you have wins and there's going to be times when you have learnings, but either way you become someone different when you're able to take the learnings from the win or the loss, and actually use that to do better next time and forevermore. So you become a stronger person, you become, you have a larger skill set, you have more arrows in the quiver, and then as more problems come up in life or things come up again, you're more equipped to deal with those, and you have a better mindset and headspace about it as well. And so you actually become a better person and much more capable as a result.
I think something to sort of tie around all of this too is the problems that you face, and often they're not life or death problems.
Oh, absolutely.
In your business, you're most probably still going to eat tonight.
Yeah.
And you're still going home to a house, and most of us are going home to family and people we love, which is a win. That's better than 90% of people in the world already. So if you can frame that differently as well, that really helps you look on the challenges you're having in your business as actually an opportunity to grow and develop, rather than something that's going to take you out. And I think I've often felt like that. This is the end of the world. We get so consumed by that problem, but it's actually not as big a problem as we think as well. And that can really help put you in that mindset of, hey, this is a cool opportunity, rather than this is an insurmountable problem that's going to take me out.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we land this plane?
Let's do it. The challenges and problems you face in your business are the very things that life is asking you to get better at so that you can grow and get better results. Now, instead of getting frustrated and overwhelmed, reframe these problems as learning opportunities. The energy is different, and so are the results. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.